Testing 1, 2. Test, test 1, 2.
Okay, we're going to start the meeting. So flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Shi,
Here.
Mr. Mohin Patel,
He's late.
Ms. Pang,
Here.
Ms. Conway,
Here.
Dr. Chen,
Here.
Ms. Podofsky,
Here.
Ms. Madakar,
She's going to be a few minutes late.
Ms. White,
Here.
and Mr. Burrell Patel.
Here. Opening statement. Opening statement, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of these notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger on January 5th, 2021. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. Okay, so we are going directly into administrative reports. Dr. Reagan.
Sure. Thank you, Board President Chi. First, I'd just like to recognize all of our administrative assistants, school secretaries, central office secretaries. It was Administrative Assistance Day yesterday. And, those are some of the unsung heroes of the district for all the work that they do on behalf of all of us, myself included, with Mrs. Tymon's efforts. So kudos to them, and they had their day yesterday, and it's well-deserved. You'll find on the agenda a couple of resolutions. One is for National School Nurses Day on May 12th. Again, school nurses are critically vital to our organization, and as a former elementary school principal, when the school nurse was absent, that was a heck of a day, and we really get to appreciate what they do on a daily basis. It's a monumental task, and it's even more difficult now in today's pandemic days, so we're grateful for all their efforts. And then, of course, on May 4th is Teacher Appreciation Day. The core of everything that we do here is related to education and learning, and our teachers we hold in the highest esteem and are so grateful for all of their efforts, everything that they've done on behalf of our children throughout this entire year, as well as since this pandemic began last March. So it's worthy to take time to recognize and appreciate all that they do, and I know our parents have felt that way throughout this entire time. So that's a resolution as well. There's another resolution regarding the Ed Services Commission in New Jersey, where for their next school year, to have me as the representative, which I filled in when Ms. Maroney left last January. We also have on there Mohin Patel as the alternative. This is an exciting thing for me to report to the board, and we will discuss it if we need to at a later date, but the authorization of the purchase of 50 Calvert Avenue East, Edison, New Jersey. That's the church, the former church that's across the street from the Menlo Park Elementary School. And we've been in negotiations with them since about October with the board, and we'd like to purchase that property and that facility to possibly use as ease our overcrowding issues. We haven't really determined exactly what that would look like, but the property and the facility and the proximity to the Menlo Park School make that a very valuable asset for us that we could potentially use in the future to ease our overcrowding. And tonight's resolution takes us one step closer to that purchase. There's also a resolution for a revised school calendar, which we didn't use all of our inclement weather days this year. And in consultation with the team, we are going to give that day back to everyone. It's going to be the Tuesday after Memorial Day. So we'll have Memorial Day off as we traditionally would on that Monday, and then that Tuesday we would off as well, quote unquote, for a snow day, inclement weather day that we didn't use. In curriculum and instruction, we have approval of science textbooks for elementary schools. We're looking to, and it's already been approved by the Curriculum and Technology Committee to purchase a new curriculum for our science for elementary students, and that textbook adoption is listed there. We have our summer school schedule. We're looking forward to some degree of normalcy, hopefully, in the summer school. We have some programs that are going to be in person, and some are also going to be remote for the summer school. Professional development on there, you see there's a number of staff members that are going for the capstone project for our advanced placement research classes. We're excited about expanding those programs and providing more opportunities for our students. Then we traditionally would have under pupil special services report our out-of-district placements and professional services for the school year. And that's all I have on that, Mr. Board President.
Thank you, sir. Now, the business administrative report. Greg?
Thank you, President Chi. The investment report for the period ending March 31st, 2021 shows $7,811.36 in interest, and the year-to-date interest received for the 2021 school year is $59,975.15. March 17th, the March 18th caucus meeting and the March 23rd public meeting minutes, as well as the board secretary's report and the treasurer's school monies report, have been given to the board to review, and these items will be approved at the April 27th public meeting. The finance resolutions this month consist of a transfer of funds totaling $126,049, the appropriation of $2.5 million from Capital Reserve for land and site improvements for the acquisition of 50 Calvert Avenue East in Edison, the appropriation of $131,602.20 from Capital Reserve site improvements for the emergency repair of a collapsed sewer main from the manhole at Benjamin Franklin Elementary School. The submission of the Dollar General Literacy Foundation grant for $4,000 to provide the school library at Thomas Jefferson Middle School with new books and magazines. The amendment to the ESEA consolidated grant for the allocation of additional Title III immigrant funds in the amount of $100,366, and the revision of Title II and Title IV non-public scope of activities. The acceptance of the 2020 Protect the Groms Shade Grant for Benjamin Franklin Elementary School. This grant will provide a shade structure to cover the playground area. The acceptance of the award from the federal E-rate reimbursement of $207,803.94 for wide area network, internet, and telecommunication services. The acceptance of the award for the sale of 1,500 unusable district iPads in the amount of $136,500 as quoted and sold to Second Life Mac. The approval of the sale of Chromebooks, laptops, and other technology devices which were declared obsolete on previous agendas and will be sold to the best offer. The approval of the sale of 5,000 high school level MacBooks, which will be refreshed with a new lease for Apple devices. Miscellaneous non-public school security aid service orders, obsolete toner cartridges in 3 unusable minivans, and the bills list as of March 31st, 2021, which totals $26,770,788.66, and the monthly transportation report. And that's what all I have.
Okay, thank you. So public hearing,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
I just wanted to know, what is the size of the shade for Benjamin Franklin Elementary School?
The value of the shade?
The shade, the playground shade? Just curiosity.
Do we have a bid, or is this just to get the grants, right?
That's a grant.
Yeah, so we don't know how much it cost.
No, just I want to know what is the size, not the cost. What is the size that we are thinking about?
We can get that information for you. I don't want to misquote it. I'll get exactly, and I'll share with the board, exactly what space it would be and how big an area that would cover.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the public hearing on violence and vandalism report. Dr. Bragan?
Yeah, State requires us to report twice a year on the Violence and Vandalism Report. This is the Violence and Vandalism Report from September 1 through December 31st. And there were no acts of violence or vandalism because the majority of that time we were remote. And at some point we were hybrid for about a 4.5-week period in between there. But there are no acts of violence and vandalism, and because, as I said before, we were mostly remote, and even when we were in a hybrid model, it was a significantly limited number of students in the building. So while that's great to report, I'm not sure that's an accurate reflection of that significant improvement, but we're reporting it just the same.
Okay. So the next item is public comments on this violence and vandalism report only. Anyone have any comments on that? Violence and vandalism report only.
I would just like to ask the question about this. Do we have let me say, Councilwoman Joy Ship Freeman, 41 Main Street, Edison, New Jersey. I'm just curious about substance abuse. And I don't know how we go about checking that, because I know there has been.
But this is for violence and vandalism.
Excuse me? I can't hear you.
This is for violence and vandalism report only. We can bring the substance
Excuse me,
abuse.
but that's part of the report.
It's on there too? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I can
Sorry.
read. I'm a reading specialist.
Okay, sorry.
Substance abuse, okay? I'm trying to figure that out because there are
Oh, here it is.
problems with that, not just here in Edison, but throughout the place. And I worry about the substance abuse because some kids are home and they're having a problem because they're not being able to socialize with their different friends and stuff, and they don't have really enough counseling and enough people to reach out to help them. So I'm just trying to figure out, do we have any type of mechanism or anything to check? Because everybody, like some kid will be in the hospital, somebody will commit suicide, and everybody say, oh, I didn't know it was like that. Oh, I didn't know. That's the only reason why I really want to check up on the substance abuse issue. I know the other problems there should be probably zero because you haven't been in school enough for those become an issue. But being at home and even being at hybrid, substance abuse needs to be checked periodically throughout the homes, back and forth like that. That's what I'm very, very concerned about. And happy Earth Day.
Okay.
Okay, so is any information on that?
You want to respond?
Board President?
Yes, I'll have Dr. Bragan respond to that.
Sure. Great points, Mrs. Ship Freeman, as they always are. When you say something, we listen. So regarding the substance abuse on the violence and vandalism report, that's only for acts of where students are either using, under the influence, or in possession of non-permitted substances in school. So obviously that would be zero because the majority of the time we weren't in school. But our teachers are very cognizant, and they've been trained, actually. We had some specific training for recognize some of those signs that you said while we were virtual in that environment, for signs of distress, for social emotional learning issues. And that's a significant issue right now, as you said. The isolation and the lack of interaction among students on a normal basis in a traditional school day is a concern. We have our PATH counselors. We work with Rutgers Community Health on that, and we actually added more counselors this year than we had in the past to address those issues. So we're cognizant of it. We're doing as best we can. But as you said, when students are at home in their rooms, sometimes all day, it's very hard. It's very hard to get the information to get the students to help, but they are getting help. There have been students that have been identified as at risk and having needs, and we've intervened, as many as a few this week. So it's unfortunate, it is an issue, and we're doing our best to deal with it and try to be proactive.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other thing about this violence vandalism? Okay, see none. So a board member. Okay.
All right. I like how you said the report may not be accurate. You're always saying the truth, but I'm going to take this moment. I have a question. It says public comments for here, but it where's the public comments on the resolutions? Because I want to speak on the resolutions and not have to use up my time later for the public comments. And did you guys forget to put on the agenda public comments for the resolutions?
You can have comments in open session.
Oh,
In the, whatever, public comment session,
Section 7.
section 7.
yeah, but it's supposed to be one.
Let's talk about violence and vandalism first. That's the time slot is for that.
I don't understand how you can only put public comments for this portion and completely skip the resolutions.
You have your chance at the, towards the later.
That's not the point, but
Thank you, sir. All right, so we're opening for board member comments, so let me just go around. Moving, any comments?
Are we reporting about our committees right now?
No, that's the next meeting.
There is no comment at this point.
Okay, Mrs. White?
Yes, I have something. As most of you know, or a good many should know, we launched our Parent Help Desk on April the 19th, and I'm very excited about this. This is a good thing. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to Dr. Bragan for his total support for the Parent Help Desk. In addition, our board members who contributed, the Community Relations Committee members, because Parent Help Desk comes under that umbrella. Ideas are a wonderful thing. Making them a reality is a whole different ballgame, so to speak. We could not have accomplished anything without our amazing technology department led by Ralph Barca, Chief Information and Technology Officer, and his team. And I want to shout out for Craig Giuliano for all of his hard work. The idea itself and their creative abilities combined all together, this produced this wonderful tool called the Parent Help Desk. Mr. Barca informed me yesterday that feedback has been positive, and I just want to make this very clear that staff, members of the community, including BOE members, have been working together on this project in a positive way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Conlon?
Yes, I would just like to take the time to show my appreciation to, especially today, admiring our administrative staff and our secretaries who are a major contribution to our district being able to function. Without them, number one, you always say, without our secretaries and administration, the rest of us wouldn't be able to function. So I thank you and I appreciate each and every one of you. Next, we talk about our nurses and their contribution to our district. Our children would be left without our nurses' care day in and day out. And number one to never forget is our teaching staff, whether they're with the children or through a computer. They are never ending from the middle of the night in the morning to the middle of the night at night, reaching out to our children and families and doing the best education they can possibly do. This year being so extraordinary, I cannot imagine, well, I try, but I cannot imagine the stress and the excellence that these people have come across for us. And I wanted to personally thank them from the bottom of my heart for everything they all do. The second thing I'd like to bring up is I know a number of people have commented to me regarding our public comments, Mr. Shi, and I think that we really need in privileged session to work this out because I don't think the public feels that they're getting all they need in conversation when it comes to the public comments. I know we've had a history of changing the rules as to how it works, and it should change depending on the topic that's being discussed, whether there's 20 people in the room like there are tonight, or at other times when it's allowed to have 100 or more people. So this is something that we need to discuss, and I wanted to bring it up, that this is something that's ongoing. And I actually attended a webinar with the New Jersey School Boards Association just yesterday, and that was one of the main topics of conversation, so that's why I'm bringing it up tonight, because we need to go back to our bylaws and decide which way do we want to go. And until we actually sit as a total board, I know, Mr. Shi, as president, you set the agenda, but as a total board, we need to look at our bylaws and decide whether this is the way we should go or what would be best. And depending on the audience, what would work tonight. I don't want to be here till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, even though in past years as a private citizen, I have attended board meetings that late. But if it's a real hot topic, we need the public, if they're willing to come out and speak, we need to sit here and listen. So I would like for this to be a topic of discussion, whether we do it in privilege session or we do it right here. I'm giving that option. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Chen, let's go around.
God bless you.
Dr. Chen, anything else? No? Shannon? Okay, Carol?
Okay, Mrs. Conway and I rode together, so she did kind of steal some of my thunder. But I wanted to mention that this is Administrative Professionals Week, AKA Secretaries Week. Yesterday was Administrative Professionals Day. It kind of went by unnoticed, like so many things have throughout this pandemic, mainly because so many of us are working or learning remotely from home and out of sight, out of mind. It's a different world right now, just as the world of schools is a different world than the one many of you live in. Over the years, the traditionally named school secretary has been a magician, a ringmaster, an interpreter, a repair person, a peacemaker, a problem solver, friend, fairy godmother, and often just known as Judy or Patty or Chris or Martha or Mary or Fran. But although we don't come face to face with our school administrative professionals a lot lately, they are still there making it all happen. Like the man behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. So to one and all of these amazing and life-saving people, thanks. So our other group we were recognizing is the school nurses. And my mother was a school nurse, and it isn't easy being the child of a school nurse, but it is very important to have that school nurse in your school. National School Nurse Day will be recognized on May 12th this year. We will pass a resolution tonight honoring our school nurses. But what do they really do? Our school nurses are another group of helpers we have not seen lately in our remote education land, but they have been there diligently working to keep us all safe and strong. Ironically, school nursing began in the United States on October 1st, 1902, when Lena Rogers, the first school nurse, was hired to reduce absenteeism by intervening with students and families regarding healthcare needs relating to communicable diseases. Like a pandemic? Like now? So what do they actually do? Well, right here in Edison during the month of March, with many students on remote learning, our nurses handled 186 new kindergarten enrollments, followed up on 186 immunization records. You know, those pesky vaccines for so many things. Skip a few. 498 medical or wellness care checked on 666 sports doctor exams, and attended about 100 meetings. That is 4 examples out of 82 of the things they did this month on the list. They do a lot. So a huge shout out to our nurses for about 1 million things a day. And last but certainly not least is our more than 1,200 teachers who teach our nearly 17,000 students in the grades preschool through grade 12. We are passing a resolution tonight next week that summarizes what they do. But this year, their jobs have been above and beyond anything they imagined when they decided to be teachers. All of our lives have changed so much in the past year or so. We may not be getting as much done as we did before, but it's a pandemic. Our teachers do not have that choice because this is your child's only chance at 3rd grade or whatever grade he or she is in. So they have to make sure they learn what really matters in 4th grade and in life. Now, they can't just make them write definitely beautiful 100 times or have them cut out pictures of things that start with the letter T to bring in and show the class, or work with a buddy, or read silently. This is a whole new world, and they have to jump through new hoops and leap high hurdles and make life as normal as they can for all of our children every day. So thanks to our teachers. May the 4th be for you. Thank you. I hope the applause is for the teachers, the secretaries, and the nurses, because it's well-deserved.
Thank you. And Mrs. Baruka?
Yeah, I have 3 things that I want to talk about. First, I would like to commend the administration and especially Ralph Varka for launching the parent desk, help desk, and I hope that this will be something that the parents and students will utilize, and it will help them navigate through issues quickly and efficiently. Second, I want to echo what Mrs. Conway said about the public comments portion. I agree that, I completely agree with her. I think it's much more efficient to go back to the old method where people got answers as they asked questions. Because right now, even as a board member, it's hard for me to follow who asked which question, what answers they got. And also at the end, we are kind of repeating the question, so that's kind of taking more time. And also from the audience perspective, now the first speaker has to wait for the last speaker to speak before they can get the answer. So, you know, they have to pretty much sit through the entire meeting, and we all know sometimes these meeting lasts very long. We want to encourage more people to come here. We don't want to be, you know, discouraging them to come and speak. And finally, the next Community Relations Committee meeting will be on May 4th at 7 o'clock. It will be a Zoom meeting. Information should be going out to parents about a week before that. The information will also be on the website for everybody else to see who are not on the parent email list. If you have any questions, suggestions.
We could actually discuss that later.
Meeting topics, excuse me?
We could discuss that in our closed session next time.
Excuse me, I am the chair of the Community Relations Committee, and I'm trying to make a statement
That's
here.
fine. That's for PR purposes?
This is not, I'm an independently elected board member. Can I please finish what I'm saying? So, okay, so this year we started this new Community Relations Committee, and the next meeting is on May 4th, and it's going to be a Zoom meeting, and anybody who wants to has any questions, suggestions, please email me. You can email me on my official Board of Ed address, shivi.madhukar@edison.k12.nj.us. And I look forward, and the committee look forward. The committee has Virginia White, Elizabeth Conway, Carol Badowski, and myself. And we are trying to kind of, you know, just engage with the public, trying to, you know, get a thought process running about how we can, you know, communicate better with the public and just, you know, get ideas and solutions. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bureau?
Hello, everyone. So there were some parents who reached out to me regarding the food services issue and the quality of the food. I had taken the concerns to our food services department, and they've been very helpful in addressing it right away. I have heard good things about the quality today, and the food services will continue to monitor the meals. As always, feel free to reach out to us. But that being said, on a good note, there is a wonderful news that USDA has announced free meals for every single child until the end of next school year, which is until June 2022. So, you know, hopefully we can all, you know, work together to improve our meals and at the same time continue to provide these wonderful meals to all the children next 45 days and throughout the whole next year, right? Now, on Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, the Lena Harris Foundation hosted second annual Lena Harris Foundation award ceremony, and for J.P. Stevens and Edison High School students. It was so inspiring, Joe, to hear the stories from the mentors, the mentees, meet them, and the wonderful things that they did, and so many hours of volunteering work they did for those people. That's really incredible. The guest speakers were Jonathan Bush, the mayor of Metuchen, County Superintendent Kyle Anderson, Assemblyman Sturley Stanley, Mayor of East Brunswick Brad Cohen, former BOE member, which you all know, Beth Maroney, Ginny White, and myself. And thank you, Joe, very much. I'll let you speak more during the public comments, but it was very good. So we sincerely, this is very sad, we mourn the passing away of Middlesex County freeholder, Mr. Kenneth Hamwood, who was a good friend and a mentor to so many people. Having served in Piscataway Board of Education at the age of 19, Kenneth Hamwood also chaired County's Business Innovation, Education and Opportunity Committee. So our heartfelt condolences to Kenny Hamwood's families, all his loved ones, and our deepest sympathies to all those who were close with him. And help desk, being said, Ginny, a wonderful job with the help desk. You presented it all, made it easier for me. But myself and Mrs. White, we sat with Ralph Barca for hours, and we went over different aspects of the help desk. And I want to thank Mr. Ralph Barca for being open to our suggestions and working so hard for us. And I'm very hopeful that it will be utilized by many parents, all the staff members and children. It's going to be very helpful, hoping for the best for the help desk. Looking at the analytics side of the help desk and the flow of different components and the integration of the help desk with the existing applications that are being used by children at all levels. It's indeed very promising. And Mr. Ralph Parker looked at many options throughout the entire last year and this year, and finally came up with Incident IQ, which is the tool that we use for the help desk, and it looks very promising. And even the security and everything, I took a little deeper dive into it. It's very well maintained. The servers are hosted internally, so that's good news, and we don't see any security issues at this point with that, and hoping for the best things out of them. So help them, help you. And thank you to Dr. Bragan, Mr. Ralph Parga, and Craig. Craig, you did an amazing job, and every single person in the technology department who helped with it. And echoing what other board members said about the teachers, staff members, and the students who are in person, wonderful job. Everyone who is doing such a great job going to school every single day. My well wishes and prayers for every single person who go in person. Hope everyone stays safe and have a wonderful and healthy marking period 4. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Bragan, you want to make some, yeah, that's one of the questions for me too, about the lunch program, the portion, the quality. I know you've been working with the vendor, and if you can provide some update, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, there were some concerns, and I thank the board members, specifically Bira Patel, Elizabeth Conway, and I think Shivi Matagor, who expressed concerns that parents had given to you regarding the quality of some of the food that was served this week. I would echo that it didn't meet up to our professional standards. There were some concerns about the quality of the food, the portion of the food, as well as the logistics of the distribution, that we are meeting with the food service provider, ASAP, and look to take that into account and get it fixed. You know, we want to provide our students the best food we can in the safest manner we can, in the most efficient manner we can. And when I get in front of the board and at these meetings, I tell the truth. It wasn't up to our professional standard, and we're going to work on it. And you have my commitment on that, and the food vendors' commitment. And if they don't, we're going to hold them accountable as well. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. It doesn't meet our professional expectations, and we're working on it. So thank you.
Dr. Bragan, you want to talk about that, the Red Cross certificates?
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. I forgot. There were some concerns that some parents had expressed to some board members as well as to our administration, that the students took the course to get the CPR certifications, and they didn't get the CPR certification. And the reason for that was that in order to get the certification, and this is from the Red Cross, it's not from our district or our curriculum, they have to perform the CPR function in person. You know, when I did it, it was on Recessa Annie. I don't know what Recessa's name is now, but you can't do that virtually and get the certification. So we will work with them and try to get that. Anyone that took the course, passed the course, and didn't get their certification, we'll do what we can to help them facilitate that. And I would direct them to send their questions to each of the schools, or they could send them to me directly. Thank you, I forgot. Thanks.
And the school has sent the required documentation that we were supposed to send, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
What the parents heard from them is school, we were supposed to send them the required documentation, or this, something from our side?
I will take care of that from our side, but that wasn't my understanding, that because it wasn't in person, we couldn't provide that they did certify what they did, because they have to perform that in person on the dummy.
I have a question for the lawyer.
Yeah.
Is discussion on committees a closed session item or an open session item? Because I don't see it in the privileged session agenda.
You can add it on.
I mean, I want to know from the lawyer, is it a closed session item or an open session item?
Yeah.
So, we're talking about the discussion that just ensued a few minutes ago?
I'm talking about, my question is, talking about a board committee, is it a closed session discussion or an open session discussion?
Well, if it's a committee report, that's an open session discussion. If you're talking about it during the board member's time to speak, you can raise issues regarding committees. Depends, some issues may be privileged, some issues may not be. It just depends on what the issue is. It's not a unilateral answer.
I mean, there is a law, right? I mean, you know that what topics come under privilege and what topics come under open.
Yes, there is the Open Public Meetings Act that discusses whether or not things are privileged or whether or not things are in open session or executive session. But I can't answer your question as to whether or not a discussion about a committee is open session or closed session item without knowing what the specific topic is. Just the concept of talking about a committee, that's not necessarily a closed session item. It
Because
depends
you
on
know,
what
for
the...
example, let me give you an example. Talking about curriculum, it always has to be an open session item,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So you can't say that, you know, there's a topic of curriculum and I'll tell you later on, depending on what you discuss, because it's always open session. Personnel is always closed session. So I
Right.
just want to get some, you know, there are certain topics, right?
But you asked about a committee in general.
No, I just asked about board committees. Is it an open session item
Cor-
or a closed session?
Correct.
item?
Well, that's what I'm answering your question, because some board committees, like the Personnel Committee or the Bylaws Committee, those discussions would be for closed session. But if it's the committee regarding facilities, that would be open session.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So, Dr. Bragan, since you were on the mic, so just a question. Can you please? There's a question raised. It's a fourth marking period. We just started. It's a typical grouping procedure placement season. So some other parents were concerned about the grouping procedures that's published on the website is not consistent as to what was communicated. So can I have Mrs. Polakowski and the CTC committee and take a look at what's published and just make sure that what's published is accurate?
Yeah,
So-
100%. I
yeah.
think there was a concern regarding an A- or an A.
Yes, something like that, yeah.
Placement decision. I will review that with our two chief academic officers, and we'll make sure that's consistent with what the Curriculum Technology Committee, I think, came to an agreement on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I'll report back.
Thank you. Yeah, if we can get something next meeting, that'd be great. Okay? Just a couple items on my side. You guys all done? I just want to say congratulations to 4 students who are winners of National Merit Scholarship. They are the finalists. Michelle Liu, Manu Shaw, Manvi Sinha, and Millie Sinha. I think these are couples. These are twins. They are twins from the J.P. Stevens. And also a good news about Justin Yun. He accepted the appointment to the United States Military Academy, West Point. And it's a great achievement, and I'm glad to see that we have another student go to West Point. Last year, we have a student from Edison High going to West Point. And if I remember, in the past probably 6 7 years, we have 4 additional students from JP went to West Point. And if not mistaken, 2 years ago, we have another student who went to the Naval Academy. I just want to, encourage the parents that, you're looking at Ivy League colleges and stuff like that, but consider these federal military schools. There are 5 military academies funded by the federal government: the West Point, the Army, Naval Academy, Air Force, Coast Guard Academy, and the Marine Merchant. Coast Guard Academy, you don't even need congressional nominations. And 4 of the academies are within driving distance, except the Air Force. Naval Academy is probably 3 hours. The others are probably within a couple-hour driving distance. The opportunity these academies presented to the students who graduate from there is none of the other colleges can compete. If you, I can say this, right? They're probably 10 times better than some of your Ivy League schools. So encourage your kids to look into that. I am glad to see that we have another student from Edison going there. And just want to report that some of the parents were talking about cricket field. We have confirmed that we have rolled all the cricket fields. They're ready to play this weekend. All the fields have been rolled. All right. The other thing is about the curriculum. I'm so glad that we are approving the science books for the elementary school. In the past several years, that has been lacking, and it's great we're picking this one up. I'm so glad that we're going to have this approval. And the other thing is for the summer school. I just have some of the parents were concerned about the kids. They're like a little bit behind due to the online. Mm-hmm. Do we have any program that we consider some possibility to provide some programs to bring these kids up if the parents or the students want to get enrolled into a summer program?
Yes, we are considering that, and some of the secondary CARES grant monies that we got is dedicated to that learning loss, as well as the social and emotional learning that Mr. Ship-Friedman spoke about. Yeah. So we will be providing those opportunities.
Okay. The other thing is just the clarification questions, Dr. Bragan. This is about our budget. There were people are saying that we knew that we could not lower our tax levy, and we should know it beforehand before we actually go do whatever. So I'm just asking you, you've been in the field for a long time, 30 years, I think. Did you know this? And did the board intentionally try to mislead the public when it comes to this topic?
Sure, that's a great question. And I've been in the field actually 32 years.
I'm sorry.
I know that's hard to believe. Someone looks as young as I do. I know, right, Crystal? I appreciate that. But nonetheless, it's been 32 years, and for a good portion of that, I worked not only as a superintendent, but as we did the business services for a small district in Highlands, where I worked as the assistant BA. So I do have some familiarity with that capacity of the job, and as well as developing budgets. And in no scenario do we anticipate, as this pandemic unfolded, that we would be getting an increase in state aid of $11.4 million. We actually thought we would get a decrease in state aid due to the economic issues that presented in the revenues for the state. So that presented a dilemma for us, because I know the board was committed to going at a zero budget. So the only way you can do a zero budget when you have an increase in state aid would be to reduce the tax levy, which we initially came and presented to this group. And we later found out that that $11.4 million in increased state aid, we couldn't give it back as tax relief because we were considered under adequacy in our funding. Now, when we submitted the budget through the state software, it kicked it back. Now, in my years of experience here, I've never had that experience where we went below zero, because fiscally we weren't able to do that. And we wouldn't be able to do it in Edison either if we didn't get that increase in state aid. So when we put the software in at the day after the meeting, we had the caucus meeting, there was a red flag that came up as an error, and Mr. Brennan could attest to that. It was in his office when we did that. We then called the executive county superintendent, who supervises all 25 districts in this county, and he didn't have the answer for us. And he's been doing this a long time, and he oversees every county, because that hasn't happened before. So he didn't have that knowledge base either, that it was not permitted. He then contacted people at the State Department of Ed, who cited 2 regulations that said if you're under adequacy, which means according to the state funding formulas, the S2 funding formulas, which considers us under adequacy, which means the state isn't contributing their fair portion on what they should according to the funding formula, that the local burden on the taxpayer is higher than it should be, that you can't go below the previous years or below adequacy. So we then contacted our attorney to look into this. I actually contacted some other people that I know in the field, and it took a while to get the legal decision and the reason why we couldn't do it. So I would say no, Mr. Sheet. It's not fair to say that we knew that ahead of time. It's not fair to say that you, myself, or any board member should have known that, because it was an anomaly that hasn't happened in my career or in the people with which I worked. So to make that assertion, I would say, is not an accurate reflection of what transpired, and that's my position on that.
Thank you. And the other thing is about this tax bill. In this budget, the tax bill is going to increase $107. So can you explain that to the public, that you know, what that is?
And we'll have the budget hearing
Yes.
on the next meeting. We'll have the visuals to go along with that. But the budget tax levy, it's a 0 tax levy increase, even though the budget is not 0 because of the 11.4 million. But the school budget goes from July 1 to June 30th, where the calendar year and the tax year goes from January 1, to December 31st. So each budget is half a tax base year for the township. And that confuses people sometimes. So that increase is reflected of the budget for this year and the second half of the year and the tax levy. So the tax levy in this budget is presented at 0. So there is no tax levy increase from this budget as it is presented.
Thank you.
No one's harassing.
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, excuse me, please. All right, so, any other board member comments? All right, so before we actually go into the public comments, I just want to say that I have heard the concerns from the board members, and I have heard some of the concerns from the public. We're changing back the answering of the questions. We're going to answer everyone at the end when they finish the questions, and but we're not going to get into any back and forth, argument here. Okay?
One more thing.
Can I add one thing to that? If the question has been answered, there's not going to be another multiple same question in a different format or anything, and another answer given for the same question. If you have a question, ask the question. If you have 4 questions of the same, there's only going to be the same question and answer.
Thank you.
Listen, we want everyone to have a, hello?
Order.
If everyone wants to ask a question, then you keep on asking.
Mohin has the floor, listen. Listen, he has the floor, listen. If you have issues, you come over and talk. There's no back and forth. There's no back and forth. You can come and talk, okay?
This is the reason why this meeting lasts so long, because you have 4 people asking the same question. If the question has been answered, you don't need to ask and repeat it again, and you mess up with other people getting the questions that they want not answered.
Let him speak, okay? One person at a time.
I'm done.
Is that so hard to follow? One person at a time. He has the floor, he has a microphone, let him speak.
I just want to say something. I hope that all questions will be answered, and repeat questions I understand, but then if there's a follow-up question, people should be able to ask those questions.
Okay. With that said, are we done with all the board member comments?
One thing about, I don't want to talk about the format of the meetings or anything here, but the Community Relations Committee, Mrs. Jenny White, Mrs. Conway, Shivi, and Mrs. Bodowski. One good thing I would like to comment is it was very good because a lot of children, a lot of high school students, a lot of parents have questions, hundreds of questions. And we were reached out on Messenger to answer those questions about school reopening and other stuff. Whatever you guys did, I was in that, but I was not able to pay complete attention because of some sound and things like that, and I was doing it at my home. But whatever you four of you did, people did send a message that it was very satisfactory and a lot of questions were answered. So before a few months I said I want to be a part of community relations. That's fine. You guys are doing a wonderful job, all four of you. But please continue doing the good job. And the more we answer people, the more transparency it is, and lesser questions we have to deal with during the weekdays. And because there are these groups and messaging groups and everything. So the more transparent we are in that committee, the more questions we can answer to people. So it really helps navigate the whole month before the board meeting. And then whatever questions are not answered there, only they come here. So it helps the board meeting, it helps the community, it helps everything. So, I would encourage all four of you to continue that. And Jeannie, I spoke with you about that. So please move forward, look forward to it. The next meeting I will join as a parent, but look forward for a successful meeting again. And I think there were like 400 people that joined last time, right? If I was not mistaken, so that's great.
Any other board member comments before we open up for public comments?
Jerry,
Okay.
just one thing.
I'm sorry?
Jerry,
You have one? Yes, go ahead.
I just would like to follow up on what Beryl was saying. This Community Relations Committee is not exactly what the Parent Help Desk is. The function of the committee is for the board committee to be able to relate to the community in general. Should anyone have an opinion, if anyone has a generalized question, not necessarily coming to our committee to say there's something wrong with their son's computer. That would be taken care of through the help desk, whether it be a problem with transportation or with technology or any kind of school function. The Community Relations Committee, we're trying to reach out to the community to exchange ideas and explain more or less things going on within our school district with the aid of Dr. Bregan. So I want everyone to know, Shivi announced that the next meeting will be May 4th. So anyone interested, look on the website and you'll be able to connect to it. And hopefully from after that first meeting, we'll bring up different topics that will just be there for discussion that we can relate to the community. This is our chance to reach out, and this is the community's chance to reach out to our community. Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, anybody else? Board members. Any other board members before I open up? Okay, so before we actually open up the board, the public comments, I'll have our attorney read the bylaw.
So I just want everybody to understand, and I'm sure most of you know this already because you've been here longer than I have, that the bylaw, and specifically it's bylaw 167, public participation in board meetings, which can't trump the state law, but it does say that any response, and this is number 5, shall be provided upon the completion of the participant's comments or expiration of the participant's speaking time, unless otherwise determined by the presiding officer, that would be the president of the Board of Education, in the presiding officer's sole discretion. So the answers are only supposed to be given per the bylaws at the conclusion of the person's speaking time. That's what the bylaw says. I'm not saying that you can't. No, I did. First of all, it's not a discussion. I didn't say. It says completion of the participant's comments or expiration of their speaking time. So when you're done, meaning like you might finish before your 6 minutes are up, when you're done and you've stopped speaking, then they respond. That's what the bylaw says. I'm not asking for a discussion, sir, all right? This is not a debate. That's what it says.
You're not even following that. Excuse me?
But with the other part of it, and again, I'm going to address this because it keeps becoming an issue, is it's up to the presiding officer's sole discretion to amend that. That's what the bylaw says. It's up to the chair.
So with that said, okay, And I heard what my board members have been saying, and we're going back to the old way. And there was a experiment, I guess there was some assurance. So now we're going back to the old way, and you ask your questions, we're gonna address your questions at the end. There's no back and forth. No, Crystal, you can raise your hand, come.
I remember the whole way you answered me right away, but I think we remember two different.
There's no back and forth.
Okay, Christo, South Edison, I think this meeting's illegal because I didn't get a chance to publicly comment on the resolution. And if I got a chance to public comment on the resolution, I may or may not donate my time to those two gentlemen. But now I have to speak about the resolutions right now, which I'm upset about. Will we get rebuttal? Rebuttal time? Because I can use my rebuttal time for the resolutions. Are we getting a rebuttal today? Thumbs up?
You have to address your questions to the board chair.
All right, I'll assume we are, okay? Because I wanted to talk about the properties, but I'll come back on the rebuttal. Some of the policies you have are illegal. I was removed this year, speaking during public comments. You can't, public comments, the law says, Open Public Meetings Act, Sunshine Law. It's my time to speak. You can't interrupt me. The way Shivi, you got interrupted. Robert's Rules of Order, you can't get interrupted when it's your time. Members shouldn't be interrupting. Board members shouldn't interrupt the public or other board members. That's not good. I want you guys to let me know in the future if I can donate my time, which is in Robert's Rules of Order, to somebody else. I won't do it when this place is packed, but when it's not a lot of people, it shouldn't really be a problem, you know. You can have common sense when you use your discretion. I'm gonna email you May 4th. I can come to the Zoom meeting too? Thank you, Shivi, that's what's up. Yeah, I want to say I love Burrell. I love Kenneth Armwood too. He used to do the Job Corps. He got thousands of people in this county jobs. If it wasn't for the coronavirus pandemic, I was waiting to see him in person. He was supposed to help me with some programs, but God bless Kenneth Armwood. I love Kenneth Armwood. I believe he was like 46 years old, 46-year-old black male. I believe he took the coronavirus vaccine. And same as DMX. DMX took the coronavirus vaccine, another black male, 50 years old, both around the same age, same ethnicity. So, you know, we got to remember this coronavirus vaccine. It is an experiment at the moment, you know. I know they always scare people with the scare tactics, you know. Well, you know, what happens if you don't get the vaccine? You can die, you know. What happens if you don't jump off the bridge? You'll live longer, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I want a resolution acknowledging the Greek-Armenian genocide. So about the overcrowding, we have Sam Joshi. Every election season we get Sam Joshi and their little puppets, Yash Pandya, to come in, promote properties that we all know to be contaminated, such as that military industrial site across from Joyce Kilmer. We all know there's carcinogens in it, but you're buying the Menlo Park. Have you even taken a look behind Thomas Jefferson? It's a lot of room behind Thomas Jefferson. Lindenau, I don't think we really need that baseball field there. We got Donaldson Park and Highland Park. We got tons of baseball fields, you know, that can be utilized, you know. It's time to have common sense when we do things, rather than buying off the first contaminated property we see and shoving our children there like they're doing with Lincoln Annex School, destroying that school in New Brunswick and forcing them in a warehouse. That has to stop. Yeah. I can't believe that. I want to speak for the I'm up here, common sense says, okay, you put public comments for violence and vandalism report. I didn't have much to say on that. Why couldn't I just have used that time to speak about the overcrowding properties on the resolutions, which I wouldn't have had to waste my time now?
You have the time right now.
I think that's some of the problems that Ms. Conway was talking about, the inefficiency, you know? We can run these meetings better, I believe. I love the ETEA, I love the teachers, but the last meeting, I was never upset with the ETEA. I was upset the way they were running the meeting, because, you know, they had 3 separate portions, stalling even the public comments, and that's what I was most upset about. I love you, Bowden, and I loved your brother when he was he's TJ teacher. I remember he was my teacher. So, yeah, 41 seconds. So the whole world's starting to acknowledge the Greek and Armenian genocide with the Edison Board of Education. I'd like to acknowledge this as well. Would Jerry Shee like to be a leader and not be 10 steps behind? Let's be 10 steps ahead. And I wrote a nice speech today that I was going to use for public comments, but because you screwed this whole thing up today with this illegal meeting, I can't even, you know? That's why I'm pissed, Jerry.
You said that to me.
I'm just saying, I'm
No,
a
give
little...
it to me.
I love you, but I'm upset, you know?
Give that to me.
What, the speech?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to waste people's
Okay.
time now.
No,
and-
give it to me afterwards.
But I'm going to come up later, and I'm going to donate my time, because Robert's
You
Rules
can't
of Order
you can't
allows me
donate
to.
time.
Yes, you can.
No.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I'm gonna-
He's the presiding, you're the presiding officer, you can decide what you want to do.
No.
If you haven't done it in the past, I don't
No, we have
recommend
not
starting
done
it
it in
now.
the past. No.
Be careful, I may file a lawsuit.
Go ahead. So, you know, about the land, we are not, the property that we are purchasing, we don't, not as I know of, that we have, it's a contamination and whatever. But the property you did mention, yes, we actually had run a report before, probably, when was this? Probably 5, 6 years ago. There were some issues, so that land that was given to the board did not go ahead and with that land, is because we ran a report, there were some issues, so.
She wants to give it to us again.
All right, so, yes. He wants to build a school. Okay. Maria.
I'm Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. First, I'd like to say to everybody, Happy Earth Day. The other thing to say, I'm part of the Edison Municipal Alliance. I'd like to shout out for the Bridges program and the BABES program. The other day, I was privileged to attend Successful Recovery from Addiction that was given by St. Peter's and Healthy Middlesex. And just to let everybody know, there are programs out there for the youth of Edison, and there are more or higher cases as a result of the lockdowns. But there are programs that other people can reach out to. I'd like to know, how's esports going? That presentation from the last time. And one more thing. I have a question, hold on, sorry. Do you have any plans to use and support electric buses? Because today is Earth Day, we wanted to know if there's anything in the works, and as well as the green programs for the schools, like updating the schools. Thank you.
Okay. You want to answer the esports? Yeah.
On the esports question, Maria, the person who did the presentation is putting together proposals that we're going to share with the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting, hopefully sooner than later. I think we have another Finance and Facility Committee meeting scheduled for May 3rd, that hopefully have some proposals there that we'll share with the committee, and if it meets with their approval, we'll bring to the full board. Regarding the electric buses, I think that's a great idea. The buses we own now are not electric, they're diesel. We own 26 buses, don't hold me to that, I could be wrong. We have 26 that are operating, I believe.
Yeah,
We
about
may
40
own more.
buses.
So we would look into that, obviously, and the majority of our bus runs are done by vendors who bid for the contracts. As of now, we haven't made that a requirement because it would probably cost more, but it's something to look at as a long-term sustainability thing. Thank you.
Okay. Come on, stay here. Name? My name is Jeff. No, stay at the podium. Because we got people online, they need to hear.
So, just quick,
Get closer to the microphone, please. If you can move it up. Thank you.
excuse me.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry, I have trouble talking with the mask. Mr.
Yes.
Yes. So I wish I had known more about the textbook approval that you spoke of, the science books. And this ties in with something else I wanted to know about was why did we need, so to say, new science books? What was it that is new about them? Why are they needed?
Any other questions?
Well, I have other questions.
Yes.
Yeah, but this, I guess, would lead into, I guess essentially I'd like to know what's new about the science. Was it a budget approval or a content approval?
Why don't you finish all your questions, we try to answer. I don't want to cut into your time.
Oh, am I cutting into somebody else's time?
No, you have 6 minutes. I do not want to cut into your time by answering your questions, because you have 6 minutes.
Okay, all right. And the reason why I ask is because I'm sorry, I can't quite read your name, please forgive me, but she mentioned, quote, that the students, they have to, quote, learn what really matters. And here at the Edison schools, and we really pride them, is that, well, look, they're supposed to be learning reading, writing, arithmetic, okay, science. And I myself, as an experienced teacher, one of the biggest things, not only was mathematics a problem with the college freshmen that I was teaching, being that remedial mathematics was the most popular subject at UCC, but also I taught a freshman orientation class where pretty much the top topic in the class was critical thinking. And the students had no idea how to think about stuff. They only were taught what to think about stuff. Okay? And so I have many examples here of, with this remote learning, I'm actually very happy it happened because it gave me access to so much to see exactly what is being presented to the children in the classroom. All right? And what it is that when we're going to teach kids about critical thinking, you're supposed to approach it from a neutral point of view. That's how you think critically. You don't approach it from a biased point of view. You can't be critical from a biased point of view. You'll come to the biased conclusion. All right? Our teachers, they're not choosing neutral topics. They're actually giving the students charged topics. All right? In these classes, there should by no means be any kind of politics involved. When I was teaching at UCC, that was directly stated in my conditions for employment. If I had politicized the classroom, I would lose my job. Now, I have many examples here, and it's especially in the reading and the writing classes. The students are being given charged topics. How do we know they're charged? Because we can look on the TV and see people marching in the streets with signs, screaming and yelling about it. Things like racial inequity, climate change, or the riot at the Capitol. How is it that a science class of 6th grade is having the students have a group discussion on January 7th about the incident that happened the day before at the Capitol. Where's the science topic? At the same way, the children read a book called Tangerine, okay? It's about kid, I don't know exactly the book because I haven't read it, but I looked at the assignments. All right, nowhere in this book does it have any mention about racism or some kind of problem about school funding. Yet the teacher makes sure to create a topic of racial inequity, suggesting that the school in the book, because of their sloppy uniforms and smelling textbooks, gets less school funding. And, well, what do you know? Their names happen to sound more Mexican, so it must be a minority school. And she emphasizes that in the assignment. Finally, by drawing that conclusion, all right, she goes on and asks the student questions to choose a topic to write about, like, what would you do? Quote, join the parent board, run the Department of Education, or work with the U.S. government. This is a reading or writing class. It is not teaching our children to be political activists.
That's right.
Again, another assignment from the same book, this time choosing climate change. Actually, my son chose to raise the point. The book has 4 natural disasters occur in it over a 4-month period. And he says
Time's up, sir.
they do this because
Time up.
it's a fiction book for entertainment.
Time up, sir. No, I'll finish it up, okay.
My son raised this point in the class. I'll stop just after this moment. This is critical. My son said, yeah, but, you know, when she's giving this, she changes it into a whole thing about climate change, again, encouraging the children about political action. But my son said, this is a fiction book, and in a 4-month period, all of these disasters occur because it's meant to be entertaining and interesting as a fiction book. She said, well, you have a good point, but let's stick to the topic. My son says that he is now afraid to express
your time is up. You can come back later.
Of you in the classroom.
Sir? Okay. We have a rule of 6 minutes. I gotta observe the rule. Excuse me, you're done, okay? Sit down. Well, you can come back later. You can come back later. All right, you can come back 3 minutes. No, we have a rule, 6 minutes, I'm sorry. Okay, I follow the rule. All right, if you you can come and make your comments here. All right, once you're here, yes, you follow the rule that we have over here. As far as the textbook, science textbook, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm answering the question. I'm answering the question, okay? So, about the elementary science book, Dr. Reagan, correct me if I'm wrong, and Mrs. Mahabir, as far as I understand, we don't have a official science curriculum for the elementary school. And a lot of the teachers, they wrote their own. And it's been going on for a period of time. And it's impacting these kids who go into middle schools and down the road into high schools, because we need a good foundation for these kids in the elementary school to build up the interest and so on. That's why I said this is great that I see that we're having a new textbook for these students from grade 1 to 5. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Board President. A couple of things I'd just like to address as best I can regarding curriculum updates. You know, the curriculum standards, the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, are set by the State Department of Education, which every district is compelled to follow. The textbook adoption is aligned to those standards. And we do encourage depth of knowledge, understanding, as opposed to just surface level learning and rote memorization. And the gentleman that spoke, I believe your name was Jeff, is that accurate?
Yes.
I think so. I know this science program, as well as many of the programs we're initiating, especially at the elementary level, we try to have them as inquiry-based. where students don't just get information and regurgitate it back, but are able to work with it, develop it, and use more of a constructivist view of information where they make it their own so they have a greater depth of understanding.
Excuse me. No back and forth. Let Dr. Bregan speak.
So the perspective on teaching in the classroom, we are trying to teach children to be critical thinkers and use the content to do that. And if there's a particular incident or issue that occurred within any parent's classroom, the first place to address that is with the teacher. If that's not successful, bring it to the principal. If that's not successful, you have every right, and I would hope you would bring it to me, because I don't know if there are concerns that aren't addressed. But just a couple of things that I think are important. I've been in this field for a long time, as Mr. Shi pointed out, 32 years. And there are moments in time and events that transcend particular curriculum content. And you know these moments. I know them as a teacher. The Challenger in 1986 when it exploded. When Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968. I wasn't in school then for 1963 when President Kennedy was assassinated. The O.J. Simpson trial in 1993 and 94. When President Obama was elected and is swearing in January 20th, I forget the exact year, 2008, I believe, whenever that was. But those were moments that transcended what were going on, and as Americans took time from what we were doing to weave it into the content, weave it into the conversations. The tragic events that happened to George Floyd almost a year ago, over a year ago, I believe, warranted a conversation in the classroom, because children, they're not just vessels that we share content with. They're children. They're adolescents. They have fears. They have concerns. And in an environment where they feel safe, where they can discuss things from an educated professional and share those thoughts in an appropriate manner, that's okay. Our teachers are professionals. They're trained to work with young people. And we don't just impart, open up a vessel and pour in content. That's not what we do. That's not what our teachers do. That's not what our administrators do. And I would hope that our teachers are able to facilitate those conversations for the betterment of the children, put them at ease at times. But if you feel, any parent in our district, that a teacher is purporting one particular view, share it with the teacher, share it with the parent, and share it with me. I want to know. Because the Socratic method is what it is. We question and question and question until we get to the core of what we want to know, or what we want our children to know. And there's no better way to have that discussion civilly, and we model it for our children. If we're on this side of the spectrum politically, or we're on this side, we present issues on both sides, and the children come to their own conclusions. That's education. Just one other thing, Jeff, and it's not a back and forth, but I believe UCC is Union County College. I don't know if that is. I don't want to speak for that. But when you're working with 18-year-olds, it's different than when you're working with 6-year-olds, and there's different parameters and expectations. Again, I want to emphasize, if there's a concern with children, your children, as a parent, contact your teacher. If that doesn't meet with your satisfaction, contact the principal. If that doesn't meet with your satisfaction, contact me. I'm here every day. I give you my cell number if you want to give me a call. We'll take care of it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Tony.
Tony DiPasquale, 2 Pine Street. First, I want to thank Mrs. White for recognizing all the people that had worked with the help desk. And, you know, I did find out that the help desk, actually, there has been a help desk for years. This is just improving on the help desk. And the reason I'm making that a point is because, well, no, it's been confirmed with the administration there has been a help desk for years. This is just a new and improved one. All right, so that's what I'm clarifying. Okay, and the reason I bring that up is because, you know, I wasn't going to mention names, but I'm going to Mr. Mohan Patel in a social media group, decided that he was going to take credit for the help desk. He kept on saying, look what we did the help desk, we did the help desk, we did the help desk. Didn't clarify who was we, but he kept on saying we did. Okay, so there was many people involved in this help desk, not just one person. and you just want to take the attention, and you want to just say you did it, okay? So, number one, okay, the three that were on their campaign trail, okay? Help desk. We've always had a help desk, okay? So you're saying we're going to institute a help desk. We've always had one. Number two, you put 0% on your flyers. You campaign on that, okay? Not my problem if you don't know if it's possible or not, if whatever the law says. Okay, not my problem. You said to the residents 0%. It didn't happen. It doesn't matter what the law says. It's what you guys said. Okay, you need to be held accountable for what you say to the residents. Okay, so whatever you say, okay, should be truthful. Okay, we hold our students accountable. In school and out of school, they're held accountable. They put something on social media, they can get in trouble for putting something wrong, okay? So let me just show you something here, okay? Now, character is a big thing with board members too, okay? I'm going to bring up one of your board members who's running for office, okay? Put on her flyer. Deliver on 0% increase. Not true. Board president, insulting a world leader, a Democratic politician, and somebody who's running for mayor. And another one, insulting somebody else who's running for mayor, a racial white hand with an Indian person there. This is the character of, why am I being interrupted? He interrupted Shivy. Can you control your vice president? This is about character. You hold students accountable for their character. You teach them character is important. Well, how about the Board of Education? How about the board members? Let's start with those people who control everything in the school district. Let's start with them. Be examples. You're not being examples. If the kids are held accountable for what they post on social media, you should all be accountable. No excuses that, oh, well, the state said this or that. You know what? You do something illegal, you go in front of a judge, and you say, sorry, judge, I didn't know. You know what he says? Well, you should have known the law. So no excuses. You make up excuses, you make promises, and then when you can't keep the promises, all you do is go, well, we didn't know. But is that what kids do when they fail a test? Say to the teacher, oh, I didn't know, teacher. What, can you still give me an A? What? Where's the accountability? I've been saying this for 3 years, 4 years. You are not accountable to anybody. Right, he's agreeing. Your vice president is agreeing. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's here harassing me in the front row. You don't care. That's the problem. And the residents know you don't care. And I've been saying this. You tried to pass a bond. I told you then. The residents know you don't care, so they're not going to support it. You have no relationship with the residents because you don't care. That's the problem. You care about you care about running this how you want to run it. The attorney keeps on bringing it up. Yes, until kept on stopping, which is why I reminded you. You kept on stopping to after they will answer the question. After they will answer the question. Yes, and then he can do what he wants. Right, we know that. But he just answered a question, so he is deciding who and what questions he wants to ask for everybody. That's what he wants to do. Shivy brings up something. Mohin decides he doesn't like it, he's going to interrupt her. Is that how you're going to run things? Again, you don't care about what the residents say or think. That is the problem, and it's always the problem. So obviously, I'm not going to ask any questions because you're not going to answer any of my questions because you don't care to answer my questions. So my suggestion would be is that you guys should be an example to the kids and be truthful to the residents. follow through on even your campaign promises. Try doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one correction, Tony. I don't care about you. I care about everybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we know the truth. That's good.
So, as far as the budget, Dr. Bragan already said, unless you change the law, okay? Nobody was expecting we can get extra state aid, okay? Every dollar of the state aid we did not use into operations. All the money, we put it into capital.
Not my problem.
I'm not saying you're problem. I'm just telling you the facts. You cannot handle the truth. That's what it is.
No.
I'm talking. You're quiet. Okay, please let me talk. Okay? You have your podium. I have my podium. I am speaking. You can't handle the truth. You're stirring up false information on social media. That's what you are. You're talking about role models and stuff. Look yourself in the mirror. Okay? The board cares about the students. We care about the residents. That's why we are very, we look at every dollar as my own money. We watch it. This year, the salary increase $5.5 million. Where does that money come from? We did not use state aid to offset that. We cut other expenses. We cut out on the insurance. We go other ways to save that money. That's how the $11.4 million can be saved in the capital. Nobody has done it. 0%, yeah, if you look at the tax levy, it's the same as last year. The number does not lie, people lie. It's 0. The $107 tax bill, it is called tax bill. It's not tax. It's called tax bill. That came from the second half of last year. The number says itself. The number do not lie. People lie. You have been doing this in town for a long time, try to lie to the people and not sticking to the facts. You come here, you accuse us? Come on. Those are the numbers. Those are the facts. Stick to the facts. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, lady in the back. Come up.
Okay.
When was the community committee formed?
The community, any other questions? That's it? The community relations has been in place for many years, at least 2-3 years, that's if I recall. And this year, yeah, I formed the committee because every year the board president assigns who is on the committee.
The meeting was April 6th. When are we going to get all the answers to the parents' questions?
I thought, what do you have other questions? Okay, when are you going to get your questions? What other questions? Have you submitted your questions? The question.
I've emailed you plenty of times asking you these questions.
Who are you? I don't.
My name is
Brenda.
Brenda.
Okay, I answered your question. You're gonna have the meeting. Excuse me? There's no back and forth. There's no back and forth. You ask your question, I answer it. Okay? Do you have any other questions? Do you have any other questions? Okay. Okay. We have a community relations committee. They have their meeting, which is Zoom meeting. You can submit all your questions over there. Okay, they're gonna address your questions if they can. If they cannot address it, they'll take it offline. They'll get back to you. That's what the committee is for. Okay? Anybody else? Yes. Brian.
Good evening. So first of all, I'd like to thank the,
Name?
Lee Sue. I live in Edison. So first of all, I'd like to, thank the district's efforts to ensure a safe return to school. So I understand that the district has provided schools with tents to allow outside lunch seating, but each school has only provided one tent. So that's not enough for the current student body to eat lunch, all of the students to eat lunch outside. So they have to be on a rotation schedule. Sometimes they're in the cafeteria, and sometimes they're outside. But, you know, the parents have concerns about COVID-19 transmission during lunch because, you know, they're not wearing masks, and they can spend maybe 30 minutes in a specific seat with another student. So I was just wondering if there's an update on whether, you know, the district is going to purchase more tents.
Okay, another question?
So that's my first question.
Okay.
The second one is, so I heard earlier during the board meeting that there's a discrepancy about the placing criteria that's published
That's people are
and
mentioning,
what's
so.
implemented. Can you explain that further?
I'm sorry?
Can
Any
you
other
explain
question?
that further?
The other questions, you
Yeah, the 2 questions.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Briggs, you want to do the tents?
Sure. At this time, we don't have any plans to purchase more tents. The tents were really for overflow, whether that was staff or students. The idea was never to have everybody eat outside. Obviously, if the weather permits and we can do that, we would like people to go outside just because it's good to get outside, especially when we're being held up inside for so long. But every school that we have, all our secondary and elementary schools, if they're not eating outside, the students are eating either in the multipurpose room or the cafeterias where they can spread out and be socially distant. If parents, and I said this at the last meeting, have concerns about eating lunch at school, if able, they can pick their child up and have them eat lunch at home, or they can have the child leave at that portion of the day if they want to pick them up and have them do the rest of the day remotely. They have that option as well. So I understand some people have concerns about the lunchtime. We are following the CDC protocols, the New Jersey Department of Health protocols, as well as the New Jersey Department of Education protocols. So we feel what we're doing is providing an environment for the students and staff to eat safely, and the tents were there to provide additional spaces if needed. We don't anticipate purchasing anymore or renting anymore.
Can I
So,
just add?
yeah.
Can I just add?
Is there a budget issue
No.
with not, you
No,
know,
it's-
purchasing
you-
tents?
There's no back and forth
Okay.
with that, okay? So as far as the placement criteria, I heard complaints from parents that there might be. So that's why the thing is ask our superintendent and our chief academic officers to look into it. If there is, they're gonna make the changes. If not, then that's it. So that's the answer. Thank you.
Board President, can I add on to
So
that?
I didn't hear very clearly. Could you repeat your last?
There might be discrepancies.
Yes.
So that's why I asked the superintendent and the curriculum committee and the chief academic officer to work together to find out if it is true. If it is true, they're going to make the change. Otherwise, that's the way it is. Thank you.
Board President, can I add on to?
Yes.
her? So in regards to your first question, in regards to the extra tents, I want to actually congratulate and thank Ms. Blevins from Woodrow Wilson. They had a brilliant idea where they had picnic for the kids on the outside. So you had so much more space. They were spaced out much more, and they were actually having lunch outside as a picnic type of environment for each individual student. So wherever we have space enough available, I would suggest that maybe if we could do and implement some more of that, that would be so awesome, and it would actually, you don't even require tents for that too, when it's a beautiful day outside like it was today, this afternoon.
All right. So next, yes, John. Yes, yes. Oh, Brian? Okay. Doesn't matter. You guys are going to come anyway.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Joseph Johnson, 407 Durham Avenue. So 1 second here. Family, friends, and colleagues. I'm going to take this off because it's kind of hard to talk. On Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, the Lena Harris Foundation hosted its second annual Lena Harris Foundation Scholarship and Awards Luncheon, held at the Pines Manor in Edison, New Jersey. We had some terrific special guests, including East Brunswick Mayor, as Board Member Biral Patel shared earlier this evening, East Brunswick Mayor Brad Cohen, Metuchen Mayor Jonathan Bush, Middlesex County Superintendent Kyle Anderson. I firmly believe that everyone who attended had such a wonderful time. Each student received a certificate from the State of New Jersey Legislature, which is right here, as well as a gift from their respective mentor. And lastly, they also received one of these. I'll show you guys. It's a certificate on behalf of the Lena Harris Foundation, basically saying that they completed the program and signed by Dr. Bragan as well as myself. And so each student received one of these as well as a gift, as well as the New Jersey State Legislature certificate.
That's great.
And it says, I just want to thank Board Member Virginia White, as well as Board Member Biral Patel, for coming and showing some support, as well as the entire Board of Education, the administrators, everybody who came out and supported and or assisted with the Lena Harris Foundation in year 2. And a big shout out to Pat McDonald back there. I know he doesn't really get that much notoriety, but he definitely came and recorded the whole thing, took pictures, and I just want to send a huge thank you to everybody and everybody who contributed to make this year a great success. And furthermore, as Ms. Orchid said earlier this afternoon, today is Earth Day, and today marks the 51st anniversary of the celebration. And this year's theme is to restore our Earth. We've come a long way, or we still need to go a long way in terms of climate change, but let's take it upon ourselves to be environmentally cautious as we move forward in the next couple of months. And once again, huge shout out to our outstanding teachers, secretaries, and nurses during this great month. So thank you guys all, and God bless. One quick thing, I don't see anybody from JP here, so we have a couple students who were not able to attend the banquet. So I'm going to say, Ms. Polakowski, is it okay if I give it to you? Perfect, awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. You're doing a good job. Okay?
Donate your time.
Right.
It's nice going after such a pleasant guy, because what I'm seeing here is kind of discouraging. So the first thing I want to clarify, I just want to ask a question, and you guys can answer this later, because there's a confusion with the public, and I think if we fix the confusion, we won't go into this bickering. So I think first of all, everybody just needs to breathe, relax, because I'm watching some of the tones in this room, and from the public and on the Board of Ed, and some of us need to check ourselves, to be honest with you. So with that said, let's get that out. But to start off with the caucus meeting and the agenda meetings, like Christo was making a comment, why couldn't he have an open discussion? So I'm guessing there's a difference between procedures of a caucus meeting and agenda meeting. I think that you guys need to explain that to the public so then you don't have the back and forth. I think half the time you guys get this back and forth is because the public's not informed. And it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you, because you're gonna get attacked, and then you're gonna bomb, 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 and then the side conversations, all this other nonsense, and then, that's the serious waste of time. So if you inform the public about how things are going, you'll avoid half those problems. So my understanding is there was no open discussion to these resolutions because of that purpose. It's a caucus meeting, not a Board of Ed agenda meeting. With that said, my other question would be, why did the violence and vandalism report make that aspect where we could have a conversation versus the other stuff that's here in the business? Because I do have questions. The first thing I want to say is, as an administrator, my secretaries are the backbone of my building. So I want to wish them well, and congratulations to the secretaries of Edison. School nurse has also been my backbone, especially with this pandemic. You have no idea the amount of work that these people are putting into me to keep our kids safe, and I do appreciate it, especially when a nurse called my son yesterday, when he had called me about my son when he had a red mark on his face, but I appreciate the call, so thank you, Washington School Nurse. Teacher appreciation's coming up again. Again, I want to thank all the educators in the district, especially my son's teacher, Mrs. Rosario. You're the bomb. I love you. If I could take you, I would. Representative, my second question on the agenda, usually for the Assembly of Educational Services, you're picking a superintendent is actually going, or a delegate from the Board of Ed. It deals with predominantly special services and stuff like that. So I was looking at the committees, and I saw you're like on 7 out of 13 committees. You're also not on a special ed committee, so I was wondering why someone from the Board of Ed is not representing this committee, especially if you're on the special ed committee. So I know you're busy. I know you're in 7 committees. I know you're Edison Democrat chairman and all that other stuff. I was just wondering where's the participation of the other Board of Ed members, or if they didn't have the opportunity to do so. I think if you're on that committee, you should represent the board there, but that's just me. The other thing I want to talk about is part of this as a member of a board. I heard people are complaining about time. We need to get this done, blah, blah, blah. You wanted the job. With that job comes responsibilities. So we have to be here till 12 o'clock at night discussing things that are relevant to my child, then we should be sitting here talking about my child till 12 o'clock. You know, you guys are elected officials. You want to represent the township and represent our children, so please do so. That's all I'm asking. Revised calendar. I'm glad the teachers are getting that day. We all need that extra help, that extra time with our families. The property purchase, I saw it's by the Menlo Park School. I was just wondering if this was overcrowding at Menlo Park School, or is there a consideration of redistricting schools and to relieve some of this overcrowding? I know the redistricting, people don't like to hear that word, but I do have a problem when there's 500 kids in a building that shouldn't have it, so maybe we should think about that. Maybe we should forget about politics and start thinking about our kids. Approval of textbooks. So I was under the impression that textbooks get beat up. You got to replace them. So I thought that was the reason why there was purchase of textbooks. I wasn't familiar with the fact that Edison had issues with the curriculum from K to 5. I didn't know that. In Perth Amboy, we just purchased Amplify Science for the last couple of years, which is a K to 8 science program. The scope and sequence is there, so I was just wondering if the scope and sequence for this new textbooks you're purchasing are going to mirror what's going on in the middle schools. Approval 2001 summer schedule, I don't know what that is. It doesn't say much. Professional development, out-district placements. I hope our kids are getting what they need. Professional service, investment reports, minutes, blah, 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 blah. Boom, sounds good. All right, the other thing I wanted to get back to was last time I was at the board meeting, there was two different things I saw at a board meeting. One was the discussion about how I asked this particular question and it was never answered. How does the decision-making actually occur with committees? I remember Mrs. Conway got into a situation and I brought that up, but we talked about how individuals are making decisions on the board rather than committees. And then, you know, you get friends. I don't do social media, so your friends send you videos and stuff like that about Edison politics and people being called dictators and stuff like that. The one thing I do want to say is check your house before you want to throw stones at someone else's house. That's the one thing I want to say. And then I asked about the money, the $11.4 million. I asked that please give it back to our schools. You said it's going back to capital reserves. How are you going to use that $11.4 million? And I hope you all have a good night. Everybody take another breath, and I hope everyone is well.
Yeah, thanks, Board President. I'll try to answer some of those questions, Mr. Rivera. The violence and vandalism is required by statute to have what's called a hearing. As I said earlier tonight, we didn't have any violence and vandalism reports, so I wouldn't think there'd be any comments on it. But that technically is supposed to be a hearing, which is a separate public comment. And your point about the agenda meetings as well as caucus meetings, perhaps we should put out some literature to clarify for the public. The resolutions only comments are when we're voting on resolutions. This is a caucus meeting. We're not voting on those resolutions that were listed there, so typically we don't have that discussion on resolutions only at a caucus meeting. So that might have created some of the confusion. That's a really good point. The property purchase right now, I can't speak for the board because, you know, the board will make that decision on what we're going to use it for. The immediate use would be to ease overcrowding, and that may move some office space from some of the buildings to create more classrooms in some of the more crowded schools. A long-term solution for all of us, and we've had this since I was appointed as superintendent, is to create full-day kindergarten. And in order to do that, we need to have 22 more classrooms. We have about 22 kindergartens. We probably need more than that because if we went full day, we'd have more people attend kindergarten. So We would need someplace on the north side and someplace on the south side to do that, and that's a potential long-term solution. I can't speak to what the specificity would be for that, because we don't know yet, nor is the board weighed in. So the price of the property was listed at $4.5 million in the summer, and we offered a price of $2.5 million. So we think it's a deal, and get the property when we have the capital reserve, which doesn't affect the daily budget or the annual budget. It's already in the reserve account, which is like a bank account that can only be used for capital projects to address overcrowding, of which this does. The curriculum, we talked about the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and, a couple of years ago, the Next Generation Science Standards were out, and all the science curricula had to be aligned to that. So we're trying to make sure we have that, and I know our principals and our curriculum and our supervisors work on that vertical integration, so we do have that spiraling of skills where we build on previously learned materials as we go through the school system. But as with anything, the more we look at it, the more we reflect, the more we realize we can do better. So these are things that we want to try to enhance and improve as we move forward. If you stand still, life is going to pass you by. So curriculum is no different. We use the curriculum we used 30 years ago. We're going to graduate students with skill sets for 30 years ago, which they would be unemployed. The $11.4 million, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there is a little bit of a, it's a word and it confuses people. Capital reserve is at the end of the year. If you have additional monies that weren't distributed, you can move money to a capital reserve account. That's like a savings account. And over a couple of years, that could build up. Our capital reserve account, as it stands today, is $12.5 million. And that's from previous budgets, previous boards of educations allocated those monies at the end of the year, so that if we need to make a big purchase, like this potential Our Savior School, we have the money to do that. The $11.4 million went to capital projects in the budget for next year. So that would be allocated for doing capital improvements in the buildings next year in the budget. The delineation of what school and what project, the Finance and Facility Committee meeting has not yet determined that. If at the end of next year, we didn't use all that money, that would then be moved to capital reserve, which is like a savings account for other larger projects. But I can't tell you exactly what, because the board hasn't decided that yet. Going back to the kids, and it's going back to the buildings, because it's dedicated to capital. So it wouldn't be an annual expense, it would be something permanent.
And the other thing about, Dr. Bragan mentioned that Edison is one of the very few school districts we don't have a full-day kindergarten. So if we have some of these properties, we can actually build. We can put the we can bring the full-day kindergarten back. And the other thing is that we will be looking into is the pre-K program. Pre-K program will have some Pell Grants, right? Is that correct? That some of the things that could be potentially be paid for. So those are all the things that we can look into when we develop a long-term plan for all these properties. And again, I don't want to beat a broken record, and Mrs. White has been working very hard with the township, try to get Stoughton School. Okay, so if we are, I hope that, Councilwoman Joy Ship Freeman can help us on this. She's on the committee, and if we get that, and we have another property on the north end, that should definitely help with the full-day kindergarten. And also, possibly solving the overcrowding in the elementary schools. So that's something that a big plan that we need to look into it. We have some money that we have on the capital outlay this year in the new budget, and we have some in capital reserve. So we need to get together and find out what the long-term plan is, and what's the best way to use those money moving forward. So I hope that addressed your question. Okay? Every dollar of the extra state aid goes back. We did not use to offset any of our operating expenses. Okay? That's a fact. Yes, Councilwoman.
Good evening, everyone. Joyce Ship, 41 Main Street. At first, I wasn't going to get up, but because I always brag about Edison, because I've been here my whole life. Even my mother, who will be 90 next month, She graduated from Metuchen High because we didn't have the Edison
God
High.
bless, God
And
bless.
I'm going to tell you something. I brag about us, but I was embarrassed tonight because I'm looking around, I'm looking at the board members, and I'm looking at the people on their phones, and I'm looking at the back and forth and the screaming from the audience. This is a high-class town. This is like a #1 educated school. This is embarrassing for people to be screaming back and forth and playing these games, okay? People know me for being brutally honest. I don't care, Republican, Democrat, I don't care about all that stuff, all right? All I care about is this town being the best town that it could be. So I pay my taxes and stuff. And you know, and I look at the different things that's going on. We can do better. And you know, your tone, okay? What people don't understand, you're elected to be on the board. You don't argue with Johnny Q. Public. You're supposed to be above that. You don't get on Facebook, WhatsApp, you don't do that. You don't argue with the public. You wanted to be in that situation, so you have to take what comes with it. People talk junk to me and talk about me and everything. They could be lies or whatever, but guess what? I opted for this job. I'm here. And you guys got to do better with your tone when you talk to people, okay? I just need to have that so I can keep on saying this is the place where I need to be. And then I heard somebody scream out, Sam Josie. Sam Josie has no power to give any of you any land. He's not the mayor. Matter of fact, he's not even head of the education committee. I am, okay? So let's don't even discuss all that, all right? Then I was looking at here, and I was looking at Representative Assembly for the State Educational Service Commission of New Jersey, and I did special ed. I've been in education for 40 years. I've been a part of the school leadership team. I worked and have to sign off because the BA would run around to find me to sign off on the papers, okay, before the end of the year. So I'm not just talking as somebody that just sitting around, okay? And I just thought for myself, like, I looked around on here and I looked at the educators and I was like, gee, an educator and somebody who was in special ed? Oh, I wonder why they're not going to that commission. Hey, I'm just asking because it seems really logical and educational to me, all right? Point blank. And then I was looking at, and then I also wanted, because I'm always 100% for the teachers, because the teachers are the people that everybody kicks around, no matter what. Even if they're governor, they kick the teachers around. The teachers get the less respect. So, you know, and the board and other people, you should respect. This is like depressing and hard times for teachers. These teachers working like ridiculously hard and being super creative, because I know I've read to your schools, I participated in your career day and gave, you know, information and stuff, you know, and I looked around. And a little silly plug that I have right now, you have 5 women. Couldn't one of them at least be the vice president? Okay? Because I'm always talking women empowerment. I'm going to always talk that because I want the young girls in the school and all over the place to know that they have the same opportunities as the males. Okay? That's what I'm talking about in the school. And I would like to appreciate all the teachers for their hard work. And God knows the nurses, especially the nurses at the elementary school level. Boy, they really work them out. You know, every kid that has a little sniffle or a fingernail or whatever, I know. I think the elementary school is super hard. That's why I didn't work there. I went to the high school. And, and I would like to thank all the administrators and everyone that make the school better. You know what I mean? Because your secretaries and your supportive staff, believe me, I know, I've had paras and stuff before, and they help you to be a better person because they do a whole lot of the work that needs to be done, and they keep you on point. And finally, I'm just saying, from this point on, stop politicking, stop playing those games. Let the meetings be in order. Don't let the people scream from up on there, screaming to the people back and forth. Don't disrespect people when they speak, okay? Let them finish their thought out, all right? And then the last thing I'll say, I do have that hearing problem. My doctor will tell you, I can't take a whole lot of voices at once. I have to have the one-on-one contact. Sorry, that's my only issue. I'm doing good at this age.
And a last plug, I would like more people to play tennis. I'm still trying to get tennis courts. Good evening.
All right, thank you. Well, Dr. Bregan, the issue about the Ed Service Commission brought up twice. You want to make any comments? Because, you know, in the past, Mrs. Maroney has been the appointee from the board to that commission. I don't know who was before her, but, and,
I believe-
yeah, go ahead.
I believe before Mrs. Maroney, it was this former superintendent, Dr. O'Malley. And for whatever reason, I think he asked one of the board members to do it, and I think Beth Maroney stepped in. That commission meets the same time as our executive county superintendent meetings usually take place. And typically, across the county, it's a superintendent that sits in that role. And at some point, I forget when it was one of our curriculum committee, sorry, not curriculum, one of our other meetings, whether it was finance or personnel, I forget. And Mr. Patel asked me if I could be an alternate, would that be okay? And to be quite honest with you, the reason it was on the agenda was he was the only one that expressed an interest at that time. Since then, a few board members did reach out to me, and I think we said we would talk about it tonight at the caucus, and that's where we are. And we could discuss it, maybe an executive or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the time, Mr. Patel was the only one that expressed a desire, and we put him as an alternative. I don't anticipate missing many meetings because I tend to go to all those when I can, unless, God forbid, something happens. But that's how it transpired.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's I hope it's clear. Any other public comments? Yes, Matt. No, not you. Not you.
once
The
everybody
first
gets-
timer.
Matt Ravnak, ETA Vice President. I want to just bring up, because of the hot topics last meeting, I neglected to mention it, and the board neglected, but we did have a passing of a staff member back in February, Linda Shopka. She had retired approximately 2 months prior to that, and she wasn't acknowledged. She was also very involved with the SCCLA program, which is a phenomenal program here in Edison. So I know there were some staff members that were disappointed, and of course the students who knew her even this year through, you know, being either hybrid or Zoom. So I did want to mention that, you know, rest in peace. A couple other things. Mr. Shee and I know we've always in discussions about the military academies, and I know we're both very happy. I know I emailed you about Justin accepting the acceptance to West Point.
Yeah, so why it took him so long?
Right. But anyway, I do want to mention, you had mentioned the military academies, and yes, there are other options. Actually, the Coast Guard Academy is the most difficult to get, and even though you don't need the congressional or senatorial nomination. As you know, I went to Annapolis, you know, but that is actually the toughest one to get into, believe it or not. Very selective. There are other options as well. You have things like VMI, the Citadel, ROTC programs in colleges. So there's many other avenues that students, for scholarship reasons or whatever, have those avenues. But I do want to mention, because I brought this up in the past a couple times, and I know with the pandemic, things are, you know, so much different over the last year and a half. And that was about the district looking to bring in a junior ROTC program in. We have brought in many other programs. I know Marie and I, right, she's also brought it up. You know, I was part of that when I was in high school. They brought it into Perth Amboy as a former student at Perth Amboy, which was also an assistance to me, again, getting into Annapolis. And I was also accepted to West Point, by the way. I chose Annapolis.
Bad choice.
Considering I was going aerospace, the Navy has the most airplanes, more than the Air Force does to the aircraft carriers. But anyway, I just did want to mention that and throw that out there as well. One or two other comments I just want to make. You know, the speaking before about the addressing things that are going on socially and all. You know, Ms. Polakowski happens to be here, who was our principal at J.P. Stevens for 12 years, I believe. Whenever there are issues like that, sensitive issues, we've always been instructed. I've been in the district, as Dr. Brady mentioned, 32 years. And we are told we don't take political sides. We don't even necessarily engage the students automatically unless we're a social studies teacher. I'm not a trained person to teach about, you know, history topics or whatever. Obviously, you know, a person that follows the news and what's going on. you know, the students themselves will sometimes engage themselves, and we do not take sides. We don't express our political views. You know, when it comes to voting, I'll tell my, you know, and I do teach mostly seniors, you know, get out there and vote. I don't tell them who to vote for. I don't tell them what party I'm affiliated with, and I don't care what party they're affiliated with. We facilitate the conversation to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. And I also have many students that are involved with the Model UN debate team, et cetera. So, you know, there is a discouragement from teachers, obviously, expressing their political views. Yes, we want the kids to be thinking, and yes, we want them to analyze the situation, but I know I personally never did, and most of the teachers I know either don't engage in those conversations or they stay neutral. So I did want to mention that because, you know, that was a little disturbing to hear. I think our teachers do a good job, and I do agree with what was mentioned. I believe Dr. Bragan mentioned it yourself. You know, you are governed by state curriculums, and they set the standards for many of the things that are taught, obviously approved textbooks and things like that. That's not a decision by a teacher. Yes, we have to implement that curriculum, and most of our teachers, I think, stick to what should be done. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff? Jeff Bowden, 2 Ethel Road, ETA President. Just back to the Calvert property, I won't ask the same questions that were asked. Very easy. What is the size of the property? Who owns the property? Was the $2.5 million offer accepted? And how is the property zoned? And if it is zoned residential, would that allow for offices to be made there? Want to address it? John?
Yeah. I want to say, don't quote me on the exact number, but I think it's 2.4 acres. It's Our Savior's Church currently owns the property. They're selling it to us. And they have a certificate of continuous occupancy for a church right now. So we would have to get the occupancy from the township to be an office space, that we could use it for that in the short run. And then at some point, if we use that building or we demolish it and put something else there, obviously we would have to get the zoning permits and all that to take place for that. Actually dropping off, working with John Stoltz and sharing plans and some possible things, but the board hasn't made any final determinations. It is recommended for purchase. There's a contract that's out there. The board has to discuss it in closed session and then vote on it on the meeting on Tuesday, if they want to do that. And the purchase price, as I said previously, was $2.5 million.
Okay. Any other first-timers? See no? Yeah, Jeff. It's 3 minutes.
All right, so, sorry. Okay, so I have 3 minutes, okay. Just sorry, that was just my strong feelings coming out. I didn't mean to express any kind of animosity towards anybody when I was first speaking out, so I didn't mean to, I wasn't making a political statement. I was just trying to, that was more of a concern for the students and this community that I'm expressing. I don't want to see stuff coming up like our students getting all excited about topics to the point as to where we have students marching out of schools over these kinds of topics, okay? And when it comes to things like, for instance, teachers are just presenting topics and that, oh, it's just the students. No, okay? These children are being forced into expressing a particular ideology, okay? The teacher's ideology. How do I know that? Because what information are they given? They're given abridged Washington Post articles, okay? Things like that, which is already a politically biased source. When it comes to learning science, keeping up with science, the hard sciences have not changed. We don't need to update and not go spiraling down into the past. In the last 30 years, hard sciences have not changed, okay? Political sciences have changed, and the politics which with hard sciences are being used have been changed, all right? So when it comes to putting that into are we going to start teaching all about climate change in an elementary school textbook? I bet you we are. So, by all means, though, I'm a very environmentally friendly person. Okay, so when it comes to books, I want to know if they're on display for the public to see. I want to know, out of the stuff that I've already spoken about tonight, I would like an answer from everybody. What do you think, and what will you do? Because this is a very important issue. It is a very important issue, and it requires immediate action. Something needs to be done, other than me standing up at this meeting, which almost nobody's at when it comes to our, 17,000 students. Almost nobody's here. Something needs to be done, and something needs to be done now. All right? When it comes to at the college, at the college, those are adults that are being spoken to at the college. And even we're not supposed to politicize those classrooms. Here, these are children. These are children that are, going into puberty, okay? They're very, very impressionable. They don't have a view of the world.
Sir?
Instead, the teacher's
Sir?
handing them a photograph
Sir, I just want to
and
remind you, your
saying,
time's up.
that's what the world looks like.
Sir, your time is up. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, you want to respond? Yes. Okay.
Just to respond to some things that were listed in,
Please be seated.
I will reiterate, if any parent feels their child are being forced to believe and being told the teacher's particular ideology or one set of beliefs, please inform the teacher. If that doesn't meet with satisfaction, talk to the principal and you can talk to me. More globally, the comment, and I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, Jeff, that science, the hard science, hasn't changed in 30 years. I don't know. The human genome, subatomic particles, the Higgs boson particle, quarks, computer technology, the advent of CRISPR to change DNA in cells. To say that it hasn't changed in 30 years or what our children need to know to be successful, I think is naive, but that's my opinion. So we're going to do what the state mandates us to do for curriculum. I guess my time's up.
No, you don't have it. No, it's not yours. I don't know what that is.
What the state mandates us for curriculum, and believe me, as is said by almost everybody here, we have an exceptional instructional staff, administrative staff. Our teachers are extremely professional. They do a great job in a difficult time, as this year everyone would, I think, agree. And if there are individual concerns about your child's teacher, you have to address them. I'm not going to sit up here and agree with you that it's global, because I don't believe so, Jeff, but that's my opinion.
Excuse me.
It's not didactic, as Mr. Shi said, but you mentioned that all of our teachers are forcing an ideology on kids. You said that science hasn't changed in 30 years.
Excuse me, no back and forth.
I'll leave it at that. Believe what you want.
Excuse me.
You told me that hard science hasn't changed in 30 years. That's inaccurate from my perspective. I'm not going back and forth.
Excuse me, no back and forth, please.
All right.
Please. Okay? No back and forth. Dr. Bragan has a stage. He's answering the questions. Be respectful. Thank you.
I will call you Dr. Beret. I didn't know your last name. I called you Jeff because that's all you gave up here before. So if you wanted me to call you that, you should have gave me that.
Excuse me, please. All right?
No one spoke about qualifications. I said I disagree with your perspective. This is exactly what we're talking about, forcing an ideology on someone. I'm not forcing mine on yours.
Excuse me, no back and forth, sir.
Yours are the facts. Understood.
All right, Crystal.
I understand what he's saying. I'm going to bring proof that there is, not from you guys, but from other places, communism. All right, if I got 150 minute 30 seconds for each page, you start, you let me know when you start. All right. I would like to take this time to speak about recent events. Body camera footage has emerged showing a girl in a black shirt about to stab to death the young lady in the pink shirt. The police officer then shot the girl wearing black and saved the life of the girl wearing pink. This police officer is a hero. After this incident, left-wing radicals and LeBron James post a photo of a hero cop who saved the life of a black female from being stabbed to death, threatening the cop, quote unquote, "You're next." I call on all American patriots to burn all LeBron James jerseys. Look, when you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball, the media, they program and tell your children to love Justin Bieber and LeBron James. Then they turn around and promote carbon tax, promote taking away your guns, promote killing white people, instead of looking up to Jesus Christ, Nikola Tesla, George Washington. We are literally made in the image of God, creator of the universe. Don't you realize that's why the New World Order and communists hate you? That's why the devil hates you. That's why they're so afraid of us. That's why they want to kill you. Then you look at who all your heroes are today: basketball players, football players, things that mean nothing today and will mean even less tomorrow or next year. No longer are the heroes saving children from a burning building. No longer is it people who stand up against tyranny that are the heroes. No longer is it the teachers and coaches who help to unlock a child's mind and unleash their full potential. The New World Order knows how to destroy your heroes and give you fake heroes. They know how to manipulate you and push your buttons. And it's time to wake up and organize. Stop becoming slaves to the satanic system. Find real role models in your local communities to lead the kids, not MTV or communist TV fake news. And I would like, thank God I have 1 minute to continue on what Jeff was speaking about. There absolutely is indoctrination going on. I don't believe it's from you, though. I don't believe it's from anyone on the Board of Ed. I don't believe it's anyone from the teachers that we have here locally. But there is something going on nationally. You can go on YouTube and look at White Privilege Conference Part 1, White Privilege Conference Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. All these teachers across America are receiving college credits, students getting college credits, say white man's evil, the Christian white man's the devil. Look at the videos, you'll see, you think I'm crazy, but wait, when you look at the videos yourself. And let me just say to you what one of the titles of that video is. Rape is not intrinsically evil. What educational value does that have on teachers, on students? So yeah, there is communism, there is left-wing radicals, and for all the Democrats who, some Democrats don't support it, but I'll tell you this, with their silence, they are supporting it, because instead of calling out evil, they just keep their mouth shut, hoping their county chair or their local chairman is going to allow them to run. God bless America. I love all of you, especially Maria Orchid.
Anybody else? Okay, yes, please.
Hi, Maria Orchid, 83 Jefferson. I wanted to ask, is there any follow-up for the standardized testing? Are the children going to have to do it? Thank you.
The state waiver was approved by the federal government. They will not have the state assessment this year, I believe, with the exception of the ESL test. The WIDA, I think, is still taking place, or the Access Else.
Okay. Any other public comments?
Board President, motion to go to privilege?
Can I have, you see none? Can I?
Answer if you're going to recognize the Greek-Armenian resolution. Skip that.
Okay, can we have a motion to go to close?
Motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
You hate the Greeks.
Do we have a second? Stop it. Respect the rule.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Student matters, Edison wetlands contract, property purchase, litigation brought by former employees and students, ETEA grievances, PERC, and unfair labor practices, personnel matters, It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
All right, so we already have one motion from Mohan Patel. Can I have a second? Okay, Mrs. Maruka. Roll call.
Mr. Burrell Patel.
Yes.
Ms. White.
Yes.
Ms. Madakar.
Yes.
Ms. Podofsky.
Yes.
Dr. Chen.
Yes.
Ms. Conway.
Yes.
Ms. Peng.
Yes.
Mr. Mohin Patel.
Yes.
Mr. Shi.
Yes.
It's all yes. Motion is carried.
All right, so we do not expect to come back for any other businesses. See you guys on Tuesday. Thank you.